This is 3.
3, 2.
All right, we're really starting this time. All right. Great. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Board Secretary on November 16th, 2022 in the following manner. Posted notice on the school bulletin board at the administration building, transmitted to the Courier Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and the clerk of Cherry Hill Township. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Sugars, would you please call roll?
Mrs. Arroyo, Mrs. Stratton, present. Mrs. Fleischer,
Here.
Mr. Mayor,
Here.
Dr. Rude,
Here.
Mrs. Stern,
Here.
Mrs. Tong,
Here.
Mrs. Winters, here, Mr. Avadia.
Here. I will next turn it over to Dr. Melange to introduce our presentation for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Avadia. I'm very excited that Miss Mallory, our Director of Special Education, has joined us. She's always here at the board meetings, but she's joined us up at the front table to provide an update for us on this from the special ed family meetings that took place last spring. Just to remind folks, back in the spring, members of the Board of Education and I met with more than 20 families of children who had IEPs or 504s, just to get an update and perspective from them about how their experiences were going, answer questions, and talk about suggestions for how can we improve the overall program. I delivered a presentation to the board in early August, and now Ms. Mallory, as the Director of Special Ed, is going to provide us an update on what the department, special ed department, her peers, her coworkers, what they are focused on now. So Ms. Mallory, it's all you.
Thank you, Dr. Melange. Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Melange shared, I'm Caitlin Mallory. I'm the Director of Special Education. And this is a follow-up presentation to the spring 2022 meetings with families that were held by the superintendent. I'd be remiss if I did not give illustrative credit to Dr. Rude. We revised our funnel picture here. As you see, this was in the original presentation as it relates to why we do what we do and the trend from the district mission statement all the way down to our students. So just to kind of reiterate, the major activity, the goal was to assess and support populations with special needs or state identified populations such as homeless, low income, LGBTQIA+, and home languages. Indicator of success would be superintendent and board members meeting with at least 20 families of students that were identified from all areas of special education or state identified populations. The process was a focus on students with an IEP or a 504. Families were identified, were nominated by building principals and the Office of Special Education in the winter of 2021, I believe. Is that supposed to be 21?
22.
22, okay.
The first of the year.
Gotcha. And then families were invited via email, regular mail to participate with the superintendent and a member of the Board of Ed to discuss their experiences with students that are classified in Cherry Hill. Families from all 19 schools were represented and contacted. There were 11 different classifications represented. The list is there again to share. Meetings were scheduled in person, superintendent's office, and family homes via Zoom. What the convenience of the family was, I believe, is how the process took place and lasted anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. This is just a list of the classifications and categories of special education that took place as part of the interview process. Slide 2. And this is a representation of the schools and programs of where the families that were identified, how they represented. That's a continuation of the programs and schools. So when I was thinking about presenting the information tonight, I immediately thought of when I started here about 18 months ago in a new, not only a new position for myself, but also for the district. The title of Director of Special Ed, I think, was about 9 years ago was when the last time that position was in the district. So I was fortunate to come in with a different lens and take a look at everything and really decide what I could do with the position that was essentially created to be added to the district. So as part of that, I identified the ability to have time to connect with different stakeholders that would be able to support us at a closer level with a focus just on special education programs and services. Also, this position gives an opportunity to work with special ed leadership to carry out department goals. And then proactive communication with parents to bridge gaps and establish relationships post-pandemic, because that was also an interesting time for me to come into the district when we were returning to in-person learning. And then ultimately evaluate resources and opportunities for special ed. So I just want to talk a little bit about continued positive approaches. So based on some of the positive feedback that Dr. Malash and the board received from parents, we will continue to hold regular meetings with the superintendent, myself, and administrative special ed leadership. Regular meetings with CHSEPTA, our special ed PTA, and CPAG leadership, and those take place with all of the district leadership for special education on a regular basis. So myself and our 3 supervisors of special education. Weekly meetings that take place with the directors and supervisors, monthly team meetings with supervisors to review concerns, develop proactive approaches, and discuss specific student needs. Open communication with parents, and then our monthly meetings with curriculum and instruction leadership team. Since the pandemic, some of the changes that we made immediately based on feedback from meeting with stakeholders, we updated the website with information, chain of command, special programs by location. We created a Google Classroom for all of our special education stakeholders, so our related service providers, our child study team members, and we included contracted staff providers as well in the Google Classroom, so it was one primary source of information. At a minimum, we hold annual meetings with our contracted providers, their leadership, focus on staff turnover and changing needs of the district. We have also taken strides to contract with more providers and expand our resources to make sure that needs are being met based on IEPs, compensatory ed services, et cetera. Changes since the pandemic continued, increased level of services for mental health. We expanded our resources as it relates to our contracted providers, effective school solutions, implementation of Care Solace, and staff PD through Interactive Kids. There's also been special ed administrative representation for our code of conduct changes at all 3 levels. Also our redistricting committees, our CPIECE work, and other cultural proficiency, equity, and inclusion work that's taking place in the district. Special education pretty much has a seat at the table for every initiative that's taking place. Central office special ed meetings, we meet individually with building principals to discuss concerns. That is ongoing with 19 buildings. It's presented some scheduling challenges, but that is important for us to sit down with each building principal and discuss concerns related to programs, initiatives that they may have in mind for their building, answer questions, and just basically extend the open lines of communication as it relates to special ed. And then that includes hiring plan and maintaining current supports. So since looking at the feedback and the improved approaches based on the specific feedback, ongoing discussion of board goals related to special services with stakeholders. So child study team, principals, central administration with a specific focus on our board goals. We decided in an attempt to streamline communication between levels. So thinking about preschool to elementary, elementary to middle, middle to high school, we diversified our child study team groups. So essentially, rather than meeting in just our specific teams, we would hold meetings every other month with just the school psychologists or just the school social workers to kind of make sure that at each different level, we are finding more consistency and cohesiveness based on some of the feedback that wasn't always happening. And then just continued discussion on how to clarify process, because a lot of what we find when there is conflict or disagreement is miscommunication. So we're working closely with our team members and all stakeholders to really have a better understanding of all the layers of special education. And then clarifying the process. So for example, our child study team members recently participated in a training with our assistive tech support providers. So they are able to understand that lens of what that service means and better explain it to parents, students, and staff. And then we're also seeking out partnerships with postgraduate institutions to support the process for transition for students, and what we can do to partner with those particular institutions to help inform our students and our staff of the best way to support for postgraduate planning. And then this slide is continued. So increased communication with building administration with a focus on inclusive opportunities. So an example would be our CPAG is meeting with our building principals and as well as middle school is where we're going to begin meeting with principals to discuss transitions and transition activities for students. And also discuss what specific things are being done in each building for inclusion opportunities outside of what is recommended in the IEPs. And then professional development has increased for our educational assistants and our special program teachers and staff. So we're trying to strategically focus. For example, December presents an opportunity for our educational assistants during conferences to have afternoons to participate in training through effective school solutions and interactive kids. And then just continued expansion of information and resources on our website. And just to add to close out the presentation, next steps will be looking to collaborate with Ms. Wethington and tie this into our Hanover research data, because it gives us a nice opportunity to include that information with what information we received from the interviews, and then ultimately ongoing from CHSEPTA and CPAG and feedback that we received from parents, staff, and our students. Any questions?
Oh, thank you. First of all, you answered my first one, which is about what Hanover's involvement. So that was helpful. So can you give us a little bit of an idea of the inclusive opportunities, that you're thinking about in the first bullet point, increased communication with the building administrators to focus on inclusive opportunities for students with IEPs?
Sure. So that's during the day and after school. So what we quickly learned in having our meetings with building principals is that each school presents different opportunities for students in general to participate outside of extracurricular. So identifying what those are, which ones, would make the most sense depending on the population of students that particular school serves. And then assisting the building administration with any perceived roadblocks to inclusion, whether it be extra staff support for the student. We've had interactive kids or our behavioral support services train or work or consult with other providers that promote that inclusive opportunity. So it's not necessarily formalized support, but they would kind of, interpret a behavior plan, for example, for the student to ensure that they're successful or do check-ins with the student. And during the school day, just discussion about what the schedule looks like, what opportunities are presented throughout a individual student schedule for inclusion, looking at unstructured settings and making sure that that's happening proactively. And again, what supports are needed if they feel that that's a roadblock for whatever reason, whether it's a staffing issue, to the point of, with Dr. DeVay coming on board as a principal, she has a great perspective on scheduling. So she's actually taken a few building schedules and we'd look to make some changes as it results to student schedules to allow for those inclusive opportunities.
So that's helpful. And it was definitely something that we were, when we got the feedback from the meetings as a whole, that was definitely a topic from the families. So I would ask with this and the other bullet points, can you talk a little bit about how there will be inclusiveness with the families and communication? Because obviously for these students in this population, the families are often much more of a partner in the process. They're part of the team. So like, for instance, looking for opportunities, because that was a topic raised. How do the families get incorporated? What's kind of the entry point for that discussion? And I guess for the other pieces too that are listed here.
Yeah, so we definitely recognized that we needed to work with our Cherry Hill Special Ed PTA group and our CPAG group to identify what our best method of communication with parents would be. So annually, we meet with the entire CHSEPTA and CPAG group. So all their members are invited. We just did it about 3 or 4 weeks ago virtually. And kind of ask those questions about what the best method of communication would be. What we're finding and what I found in first looking at the data that was collected was that a lot of this stuff is happening and we're not necessarily communicating how or when or giving details. So, bridging that gap, whether it be holding parent evenings, working hand in hand with CHSEPTA or CPAG to have like a parent evening, and just in general, being proactive with our communication. So again, with the addition of the position of Director of Special Education, I'm a whole additional person that allows to participate in that chain of command, so working at the building level and ensuring that child study team understands the chain of command and what information can be shared at the building level. What is a building concern versus what is a special ed program concern, and who to go to for that. So we continue between, like I said, the website, working with our stakeholder groups to ensure that not only are we getting the communication, but we're doing it in different ways that they find to be the most beneficial. So
Ms. Mallory, thank you for this report to the board. My question, I don't want to be a broken record, but what can the board do to assist you? So when I see PD, I see dollar signs, and I think that's appropriate. That makes sense. That's a board level concern. Another one that jumps out at me is seeking out partnerships with postgraduate institutions. So some of us may work with them, know them, have some leverage with them. What would that look like, and how would you want to see, or I guess the board in anything you've presented today, like how are we best going to be able to serve you and what you'd like to do with the department?
yeah, so certainly we work closely with curriculum and instruction, and we're grateful that they prioritize special ed. The district as a whole definitely has a focus on special ed, and that's appreciated. Even the board in general, I think, is invested, which is helpful because we don't have to convince you to care about special education. So, in a community this size, we value any connections that you can provide us, any resources that you think might be helpful, just to establish those resources and utilize them appropriately. We're always looking for new opportunities to create connections. And there's a lot of good resources in Cherry Hill. It's a matter of kind of seeing where they're at, how we can connect with them, what's appropriate for our students and what that looks like. So I would just say, continue to ask questions, give us feedback, and share information as appropriate, which some of you already do, which I'm grateful for. We're grateful for, because it sets us on a path to, find out more information about what's out there, what's in the community, because we're fortunate to have a lot of great resources right here in Cherry Hill.
Just a quick follow-up and then we'll go around, but is there a certain office at a university? So Dr. Melange, I know, has a great relationship with Camden County. I think we could certainly crowdsource Rutgers, Rowan.
Yeah.
Is it like residential life? Is it admissions? Who would be, when you wrote this bullet point?
So disability services, and most recently Camden County, we met with them to discuss their transitional program, which is being kind of revamped. So they wanted to meet with us and fill us in. We're actually going to go visit it as well and bring some of our case managers to kind of see what they have a lot of flexibility to work with us. So we're hoping to continue that relationship to, inform parents of what's available and also see how that can integrate to the program that we currently run in the district.
All right, that's great. Mrs. Fleischer?
Sure. Thank you. I wanted to thank Ms. Mallory, first of all, because for your availability, whether it's in our committee work that you're always there, or if we have a question. So thank you for everything that you brought to the district. I've really appreciated it. And also as a board member, I felt it was extremely impactful for when we got to meet with the families and really talk with them. So I'm looking forward to, I know that that's on our agenda to do for the next year. And I'm really looking forward to that also. There was two things I was wondering, first of all, a question that has come up lately, and just because of the time of year, especially with high school, like with guidance counselors and that type of thing, what Mrs. Stern had brought up, sometimes there might be a lack of communication between the student and the guidance counselor as far as kids that have IEPs or 504s, giving them the information for the transition into college as far as what colleges may be best suited for them. And I think that's a place really where I can see a bridge really building. And I didn't know if you had any insight to that.
Yeah, so Mr. Wisely, the high school supervisor, special ed, and I talk about this a lot. So we've used different resources to kind of bridge the gaps between case managers and counselors and what roles they specifically play. And providing the right opportunities. So, in working with the case managers, where they can self-identify when they go to college, depending on which colleges they're looking at, what's available to them on campus. It's a lot of individual support, but from a special ed perspective, that's where the case managers are crucial. And then obviously working with the counselors in the school to make sure that the information is given to the students, and they're always looking for different opportunities to learn more about those processes because they change at each school. They're very different. There's a lot of colleges and universities out there, and they just all run different programs. But yeah, that is something that's ongoing that we're discussing with the teams at the high school level.
Great. Thank you very much. The only other thing is I just was wondering if you had heard feedback from different families as far as the impact that they have felt like being able to be heard more, like that they've been able to express, maybe things that have been wonderful or things that maybe needed to be worked on from the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of it is organic because we were like triaging during the pandemic. And, when I came in, there was a lot happening. It was just, figuring out how to transition students back to school, different populations of special ed that we needed to focus on. So now we're able to really kind of start to have discussions about what the list was during pandemic that we wanted to focus on and just had to table because there were other pressing issues.
Mr. Mayor.
Happening.
So, I'm not taking responsibility for that. So just first, thank you, Ms. Mallory. It was a great presentation. It's good as I enjoyed the meetings that I participated in, and it's good to see some of the fruits of that. Although, the positive work that still needs to happen will, take some time, but this is a great framework. What I was happy to see, while you recognize the importance, as does your staff, of focusing on those areas that need some more help, that you didn't ignore the things that are going well. And that happens oftentimes when we see presentations that the focus is almost exclusively on there's a gap here, there's a gap there, and we need that. But sometimes the things that are going well start to go in the other direction if they're not continually given some oxygen. And you did that here by pointing out many areas that families felt were going well for them, but keeping your eye on the ball there so that they don't slip and they continue to build some momentum there as well. So overall, was happy with the presentation and looking forward to whatever support we can give you and your staff to make these programs work as well as they possibly can for our students.
Thank you.
Mrs. Elmore Stratton.
Thank you. I think just for us and a board, I think this is prime example of one of the things that we need to do in terms of a board, how to support. For me, I would think budget, right? Because Mrs. Mallory, she's a whole person doing this work, whereas before we had that melded into something else. And so, not that this justifies your work, because obviously your work is needed, but it just goes to show how much was going into that role.
Right.
And so as board members, I feel like that's something we should be thinking about come budget time is, are there other roles like this that need more attention, special directed attention, that we can get more quality from? And not that we weren't before with Ms. Wethington, but just having dedicated eyes on one thing, I feel like is valuable. So I think is that a space for us as a board to just be thinking budget wise as we can support?
Yeah, I mean, and we still obviously work closely with Mrs. Wethington. I don't know how many times a day I say, I don't know how you did both positions. Or, we'll discuss something that we want to implement or do or look at, and she'll say, yeah, that was like number 8 on the list, So it gives us a great, and what's nice is we're really in sync. It's kind of funny sometimes how, what our focus is and what we want to do or what we want to take a look at. So, for example, going back to contract to providers, just are we maximizing our resources in the best way? Getting feedback from staff and related service providers, what are you seeing? Because they're in the trenches, they're in the classrooms, they're doing the work, and their feedback is valuable. The same with the parents too. And you spoke to that a little bit about what you saw in the meetings. You know, that's firsthand feedback that is really valuable for us.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that when we start talking preschool, it takes a whole person. Just saying, just saying.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah, so just to pick up on that for a second. So, you know, BNF is just about to go into budget priorities for next year. You know, staff is going to be for the next 10, 20, 100, 150 years. It's going to be the make or break of this whole district. But of course, HR committee will have a lot to say about that. And of course, we can't forget to see, you know, I mean, this was, I don't know exactly how, but you know, this wasn't something the board came over. So we identified it through administration that this would be a game changer. It's good to see that they were right. But yeah, supporting is often where we are. Mrs. Tong, anything you want to jump in this side? Ms. Winters?
So I'm really interested about the transitions between levels. I especially see it from the preschool to the elementary level, how it was a really tough transition for families and a lot of communication. Things got lost for families going between preschool and elementary. And I think it's probably the same between the other levels, but that's where I have experience so far. So I'm really delighted to see that your teams are now meeting across levels to facilitate that communication. How do you think that's going with them sharing that information, and what do you see going forward with extending sort of that collaboration towards helping families and students as they go across the levels?
So I think what we're seeing too is those conversations with building admin and with our case managers are becoming more and more meaningful, because it's not necessarily big challenges that that we're facing when it comes to making sure that the transition are streamlined. It's just getting specific feedback about what works based on the building. You know, you're talking about merging 12 elementary schools into 3 middle schools. So there's just a lot of moving parts with that. I will say we've had parents give us suggestions based on other school districts, what's being done in other districts. How do we transition that to our district? Can we make it work? Will it be effective? And having those conversations is powerful, because we need to know from the logistics side of things what's happening in each building and what makes the most sense. But that has to be a priority, which is why we decided as part of the school year for this school year to bring our principals in with our CPAG leadership and really have discussions and create an action plan for what it's going to look like for the school year.
Dr. Root?
So I think everybody said pretty much all the stuff I want to say, but you just said one thing that did kind of make me think about the bigger picture outside of Cherry Hill, and like, what are other districts doing? And are there innovations in other districts that we can bring in? Are we, like, what kind of relationship do we have when we talk about reaching outside of our school district, right? That's one of our goals for our kids. Is there a way for you in your position to be able to interact with people outside of Cherry Hill to bring in innovations?
Yeah, so we have a small directors group in our region that we use, where we meet monthly. We have our county directors group where we meet monthly with our county colleagues and county directors. We've established relationships, the supervisors and I, with local schools nearby. The question that we always ask ourselves when we're thinking about something is, well, who's as big as we are? Fortunately, my teaching career started in Vineland, and they're probably the second largest in this area region, South Jersey. So a lot of programmatic stuff I can compare to what they're doing and how they implemented it, or what didn't work and what did work. Because size is always a concern, the size of the district, and making sure that we're able to implement. We're not focusing on one specific program or area, unless there's obviously a pressing need, but making sure that it's across the district.
And I kind of have one other thing that kind of goes along with like thinking outside of the box, outside of ourselves. I mean, you talked about maximizing resources. So obviously, if we're paying for a resource, if we're setting up a program, we want to make sure that that program's being utilized. Is there any way to, as a large, like, I guess not, is there any way to, sorry, I'm trying to think about how I want to phrase the question, but like, we have to have lots of programs. We have a lot of kids. Like, do we as a district work with other communities that aren't as large and don't have the resources? Is there any way to maximize our resources by reaching out and helping other communities?
So, I mean, I guess as it relates to communication and support, so what we have done is we have acted as sort of like liaisons when other districts are interested in services that we already have implemented. So we made it clear to a lot of our providers that we're willing to speak on their behalf, to speak about the data, to say what works and what doesn't. So in that regard, yes. More so with the making sure we're maximizing our resources, looking at our data. So for example, Effective School Solutions, they provide monthly data to us. They most recently opened up a portal of data to take a look at our students. So we can see it at a district level and see where we're providing the most support. They offer different tiers of support. So is the tier 2 system working at this school? Can we look to shift, and having meetings with their leadership to make sure that everything is, is going well. And again, they're in the field, so they can give us that feedback from their perspective, which is helpful.
Thanks. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Stern?
Okay, so a few final thoughts, comments. First, to my fellow board members, the BNF, we're going to start talking about budget next week when we meet in our committee, and we would love to hear through CNI, looking at CNI folks, what the priorities are as it relates to special ed support and support for these families. If there are budget priorities, please share that information forward, and we'll work to, because our job is just to talk about budget priorities, not to set them necessarily. So, but to help advocate for what we're hearing is needed. So thank you. And yes, HR definitely. We have our work cut out for us in our committee, right? So last meeting, we talked about the New Jersey School Board Association workshop that we went to. And I shared about attending the person-centered planning workshop, which the person from the Bog Center was there. And to me, in addition to having training for our, let's say our child studies team staff for how to help when we're talking about the transition, having like a singular document that you kind of like is just part of the structure, to me, it's a lot easier to implement and carry something forward that is established and is just universally used for consistency, you know what I mean, from school to school, case manager. Like, to me, we want good processes in place because obviously we have a whole range of experience in our case managers, and we want to make sure there's consistency. So that's one thing that's on my mind a lot in terms of how do we do that. The other piece is, we talk about in our goals for this year, the tiered system of support. While I think, we could, let's say we decided to use some type of document like the person-centered planning or something like that, or whatever it would be. That's just one that I learned about at the workshop. But if we had that as part of child study team and IEP meetings, that's great. But what about all the other kids? We also have one of our goals is student mental health, right? And as kids transition, this is something that, last year when I was involved in like college visits, I mean, that the question about mental health and counseling came up at every single meeting I was at. Either there was a student asking or a parent asking, it's across the board. We know that these are major needs. So, again, back to the communication with families overall as a district, are we communicating, these are the things available at the, I think it's, fantastic that there's the conversations with Camden County College, and that's a special program, but there are probably a lot of other students who would benefit from simply knowing, listen, you could get extended time on assignments in college, by the way, and you don't even have to be in a special program. You can just sign up for disability services, like those kinds of things. I just find that a lot of families don't know about those resources in that transition, and it's at all different levels. So, I mean, I think, as this is all kind of on the table, which is really exciting, and it's so nice to see all that's happening. Like just as a kind of the different pieces of information that come our way, those are things that are, I think, and other districts, what are they doing? Other districts, I hear about, they do meetings about college planning, specifically over support services at college. They'll have an entire meeting open to any parent if they're looking for support services. So, I think that, given by guidance department, or whatever. So I just think like all these good practices as we look to, already enhance what we're already doing, which is a lot. I'd love to see more of that. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
excited to see the next presentation too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Mrs. Fleischer, you brought up about, looking at staffing and resources. So that's absolutely on our radar. We want to make sure that what we either propose or look into doing is what makes the most sense. So there's still a lot of information to kind of take in as it relates to the best way to go about offering the support that's needed in areas where we identify the need. And to your point about process, I'm a huge process person. It's always a fine line with, compromising the individualized portion of the IEP, so even to speak to where programs exist, it's different year to year. It's because obviously IEPs drive our programs, and that's what we want. We don't ever want to lose that, because then we stop making decisions about individual students and we start making group decisions, which takes away from the whole support behind special education. But yeah, we definitely are looking to streamline where we can. And if it means, putting together a checklist for parents as students exit, or putting them in touch, like I said, with the appropriate resources at the secondary level, and making sure that the case managers have the access to that information and are doing it as a routine procedure where it's appropriate for the student. So.
Right. My thanks again. It does occur to me on kind of a separate topic, but we meet with Dr. Malash's board leadership once a week. One of the topics for tomorrow, we've got to figure out in this relationship economy, because I guess my biggest concern is I don't want to help these folks do stuff they're going to be better at. I don't want to help these folks with connections that they already have. I don't want this to be an open kind of thing, but I'm sure there's a place that we could all, interface and have some value add relationships, and that's got to be managed. So we'll devote a couple minutes tomorrow and I'll share that out. Thank you so much. All right. That brings us to what you've all been waiting for, board member correspondence. Who would like to begin? Mrs. Fleischer, did you have?
I just have one quick thing myself, and then I have to find Miss Roya actually sent me hers. So let me do hers first. Miss Arroyo could not be here tonight, but she attended the Latinos at West Gala. It was an amazing time, such a beautiful showing and representation of the culture Latina. The greatest thing was all the alumni and families of the Latinos at West that supported the event. It felt like walking into a family event. Told her it sounded like a wonderful event. It'd be great to, I'd love to see it maybe next year. It sounded wonderful. And then last week I was able to attend the Woodcrest art show in Dr. Malash's office, which a lot of us have done for the different schools. And every month he has a different school. And it was wonderful to talk with the students that have their artwork hung up in Dr. Malash's office, as well as seeing the parents and actually the principal and the art teachers attended too. So it was a great night. Thanks.
Mrs. Winters.
Thank you. So I was actually quite busy over the past few weeks. I got to go over to Cherry Hill West, where the peer leaders got a donation of books and were putting them into packets, bundles to bring over to Clara Barton Elementary School. So, and the journalists from West were there too, the student journalists, which was really neat, documenting the whole thing. So all of us, the journalists, the West students, and the staff, we walked, actually, it was a beautiful day, from West over to Barton. And the high school students distributed the books to the elementary students and then read them stories. And it was awesome to watch, especially because a lot of the West peer leaders were Barton alum. So they were back in their old elementary school. Their teachers remembered them. The little ones were so excited to see the teenagers. At one point, one stopped reading and a little girl said, "Is that all the books? Can you read us more?" It was honestly the highlight of my day. It was day after the election. And it was the absolute highlight of my day. And it just reminded me why we do all the good work we do, all of us in this room. So it was phenomenal. And then the following week, I got to participate in the Ruby Bridges walk at Thomas Paine Elementary School. It was second grade classes. They had been learning about Ruby Bridges, reading and also listening to interviews that she's given. And then they did a march around the school while they reflected about what it must have been like for her. It was really profound to see how much the second graders really understood about their lessons and how much interaction they had, wondering about her as a person. And she's a person who's current, that they thought about writing letters to her to ask her about what she was thinking and feeling. So it was a really, really nice thing. And I was happy to be invited to that. It was my first time at Thomas Paine. It's a lovely school. And then I also got to go to a Thanksgiving luncheon here at the Alternative High School program, which was really, really neat to see the students there. They're a really special population of kids that I hadn't gotten to meet before. The staff was super welcoming to me and introduced me to everybody. And it was just a really fun event. We all played bingo. I did not win, but I had fun playing anyway. So just thank you to them at the Alternative High School for inviting a board member, because it's just really cool to see all the students of the community. And join with them and see what they have to offer and what's going on in all the different schools. So that's it.
Mr. Mayor.
Just a couple. Last week, I had an opportunity to sit in on the CP's exec committee as board liaison. We talked over a few issues, just a high level on a few of them. One that came up was methods that we can explore. The committee would like to explore to enhance the college application process and essay writing process for college applicants for students in some of the marginalized communities that CP's focuses on. Dr. Damon in particular had some great ideas and observations and conversations that she's had with students, recognizing that there's a gap between, some populations that where students and families are are much more on top of the college application process, especially the essays and the work that really needs to go into a successful application. I'm in the middle of that with our senior now, so I'm well aware of that. But many in the community aren't as well aware or fortunate. And there are programs out there that we feel the district may be able to take advantage of. We're trying to identify those that can provide some support to those communities and give them the leg up that they need in order to compete on the same level. So there were a few ideas that we knocked around, and will be the committee, and I'm sure through Ms. Wethington will make a more of a presentation to us on that. We also talked a little bit about some staff requests, things that the staff would like to see, that they would like some help from CP on. One was on anti-racist training and opportunities and programs that we might be able to employ in order to bring that really heightened awareness of the importance of that training. And then finally, we also talked about some proactive approaches that we may take as a district to onboard new families into the elementary schools, to begin conversations with them to engage as they are new families to the community. We've talked just generally about the importance of engaging parents, and that student success tends to be tied positively to parent engagement, and some ideas of trying to engage new families as they come into the elementary school, so they feel like they're part of a wider community of support. So we talked through some of those ideas as well. Last issue was or opportunity I had to attend an event last night at Cherry Hill High School West, Spirit Week. It was the lip sync competition between all four of the grades. Just a spectacular presentation. All four grades did an amazing job. It was wonderful to see just how happy these kids were, and we're still on the rebound from the pandemic. But the spirit was there. The healthy competition between the grades was there. Their classmates cheering them on from the audience and the parents. It was great to see. There's the smiles and all the work that went into it. And I'm happy to report that the junior class of 2024 won the competition. Their theme was 80s, and as a child of the 80s, I know neon when I see it. I saw a lot of it. It was worn well. It was choreographed well. And just overall, just one of the better high school presentation events that I've attended, because of how much fun all of these kids were having from start to finish, whether they won or they didn't win. They all felt like they did, and that was great to see.
Great. Any 80s songs you wanted to share at the mic or?
That was a mistake, given the fact I'm also a musician of the 80s. So maybe one of these board meetings, if things get quiet, I'll bring in a guitar or my drums.
I want to say,
You're going to regret having requested that.
well, I want to say that I think Mrs. Winters challenged me to doing like a song off at the next board meeting. Is that what happened?
It wasn't a challenge. I just think it'd be phenomenal. I know how much you love to sing, so.
All right, don't be surprised if there is a YouTube clip and I assign songs. Okay. All right. Anyway, other correspondence? All right. So I will say that there is a time-honored tradition on the board because, we believe in the importance of this job and in continuity of government. That the sitting board president and vice president interact and onboard people who are going to be coming on. And so Ms. Stern and I had a chance to sit down first with Kim Gallagher and then with Adam Greenbaum. And both of them are here tonight. Kim is virtual. Adam is in the front row. I want to say when we did it with Mr. Mayor and Mrs. Winters, I remembered it being an hour, but these ones went 2 hours. Maybe they all go 2 hours.
We got kicked out of Panera because it closed, as I recall.
Okay. All right. Maybe, I guess they're always 2 hours. All right. Well, my wife was a little surprised when I told her, but anyway, so, just, the two people, Adam and Kim, very engaged, great questions. I'm always reminded why we do it and how important it is to do it. And so, just two great people from the community who will be here to do work starting January 3rd at a time TBD when they will be sworn in front of family and friends. And so we had a good time over coffee. I've only ever made an exception of going to Panera once for this one. I was glad to be back at my roots in Starbucks and we had a good time. So that was something nice in the last 10 days. We did both of those. All right. That is correspondence. Anything else? Nope. Okay. That is correspondence then. And we will now turn to our student reps. Okay. And I believe, Elizabeth, did you go first last time? Then Aiden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll keep this brief or relatively brief. First marking period is over, so grades are in. Everyone's kind of just ready for Thanksgiving break now, and then we'll get back to second marking period after that. First kind of regular school marking period in a while. The fall sports season is also over. We had many successful teams. Our football team did better than usual. They did quite well. Our girls tennis team made it to the state finals. Our cross country team did well, and every other sport did great too. The fall play is coming up. That will be the weekend of December 9th, I believe, and also the following weekend. The Canterville Ghost is being performed, and the theater department is also already gearing up for Into the Woods, which is their production for later in the year. Normally they would not start preparing, but apparently Into the Woods. I'm not really a theater person, but I've heard that this is like a super special production, so they need extra time. People are nodding, I guess. This is a big deal. So yes, they will have an extra special show, but first the Canterville Ghost. So I hope you'll attend that in a couple weeks. And then with fall sports ending, winter sports are starting, and we have a bunch of other competitions going on as well. So winter sports started yesterday. The robotics team continues to perform excellently as well in their competitions. The speech and debate team, as well as the ethics team, have competed in several competitions recently. Model UN recently had a successful competition at Eastern High School and has another one at the technical high school coming up. DECA has their competitions coming up, and Eastside attended the state convention where there was one competition there, and also the results of a number of other competitions were announced. We're proud that Eastside is for the 13th year in a row the #1 distinguished journalism program in the state, from that conference, and Eastside has also published 5 multimedia packages in the past month, each one of which had a ton of work go into it. So be sure to check those out. And additionally, Demo, which is the literary magazine, art and literary magazine at East, also published recently. They published their 54th edition, which I believe is generally annual, but is back for the first time in a couple of years after COVID. That was published online and will soon be published in print. In terms of music, the fall preview concert was performed recently, which was excellent, and the winter concerts are coming up soon. And East groups have been and will be going to all the middle schools and elementary schools to share their music with the younger kids as well. A couple other sort of miscellaneous updates. One of them, certainly significant, Dr. Perry, our principal, was given an award at by the New Jersey Association of Student Councils, honoring him as, I believe, their Administrator of the Year. And so that was significant, and also very significant is Spirit Week at East. The Spirit Week dance is tonight. It's actually happening as we speak, so we will find out soon who has won that competition, similar to the lip sync at West. And that is kind of all of the general activities updates. In terms of student voice and kind of policy issues, a couple updates there as well, mainly stemming from the town hall that was recently held at East. Dr. Malash came and visited with a number of students from all kinds of different backgrounds around the school, every grade level, every sort of activity involvement. We talked about new policies at East this year, talking about the bathrooms, different issues with the bathrooms being accessible to students. I will say one kind of update for any East community members listening that I just got today, actually following up from that conversation, is that there's been sort of an issue going on with students reporting that they're asking teachers to open the bathroom for them at certain times and their teachers don't have keys. Apparently the keys are like back ordered, but there are keys on the way. So bathroom keys are coming at East. And we talked about the bathrooms in general. The new policy seems to be working to keep them safe and clean. We also talked about the lateness policy, which seems to be working fine. And we talked about academic competitiveness and the culture in terms of that. I would say there were no real kind of decisive takeaways from the conversation, which is okay. Not every conversation has to come away with, a clear solution. It's kind of discussion on both ends of the spectrum. Some people think there should be increased competitiveness. There's too much grade inflation. There's too many valedictorians. Other people thought the exact opposite. So it was a productive conversation with everyone sharing their viewpoints. And we appreciated Dr. Malash coming down to East. So I think that is all of my updates for this month. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great update. Elizabeth, Art, you are next.
Hi, I'll keep mine brief tonight too. So as Aiden mentioned, the first marking period's over and we're just sort of resetting and we're all looking forward to Thanksgiving, 1/4 of the way done. Our financial literacy classes had guest speakers talk to them about bankruptcy and college funds. I know I appreciated that a lot. The guidance office is holding a financial aid night on Wednesday, November 30th, which is open to any senior or parent at 6:30. And the Camden County dual credit window remains open for $150 per course. This could save you a lot of money, and that's due December 9th. In the arts, the photo and graphic design classes had a trip to the Philadelphia Zoo, and Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat will premiere on December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at 7 p.m., as well as a matinee on December 3rd at 2 p.m. In extracurricular activities, the Air Force Junior ROTC is selling tickets to the Flyers game for $45. If they sell 30, then they have the opportunity to present the colors at the game. These ticket sales are due Wednesday, November 23rd, so tomorrow. And then these tickets can be bought by contacting Chief Boucher with his email. And then Latinos Out West had their 20th anniversary celebration on Wednesday, November 9th, which I had the privilege to attend. It was a really great time, and it was really great to see the different people from different classes and all the culture brought together. DECA regionals are on January 9th, so we would like to wish good luck to our competitors. In school news, Spirit Week has begun. Students have participated in the dodgeball tournament, the lip sync. We can all reserve our favorite class in that. Powder Puff is tonight, started at 6:30, so it's happening as we speak, and as well as many dress-up days throughout the past few days. Tomorrow, wear your class color to earn any Spirit Week points. Seniors wear black. The winning class will get a water ice party at the end of the year. And on tomorrow, we have an early dismissal day to start off Thanksgiving break. And National Honor Society continued and finished today to collect non-perishable items for the Cherry Hill Food Pantry in E16. And in athletics, we want to congratulate our boys and girls soccer team, who both won the Group 3 sectional titles this year, as well as our girls soccer team for making it all the way to the state finals. And field hockey and football closed their seasons off in the playoffs, and winter sports are starting. Get your physicals in and register for winter track, swimming, basketball, bowling, and wrestling.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, that's right. And we have a special treat, a video. I'll ask, Dr. Walsh, are you going to introduce it?
Sure. I'll just do a quick introduction. This is the second month that we have an update from our students as part of the Coles Alternative Program. Mr. Plavinsky is going to get it loaded up for us. And we appreciate the work that Mr. Giordano and the students at the Alternative High School are doing to share this information as well.
Hi, my name is Mariah Montgomery, and I'm in 11th grade at Alternative High School. September Student Spotlight. Most improved growth mindset. This student has successfully made individual growth in the following areas of work completion: attendance in classes, attitude, and behavior. They have worked hard and persevered. The awardee, David Tipton. Most improved school participation. This student improved their overall attendance to school and to class. They are using their coping skills and staying in class to complete all of their work. The awardee, Mariah Montgomery. Student of the Month. This student displays our core values of respect, responsibility, citizenship, and service to others in and out of the classroom. They have worked hard to achieve success in their academics, behavior, and attendance. Awardee, Arkin Wilson. The Lewis Ledger. Journalism class has created the Lewis Ledger newsletter. Issues will be printed bi-monthly. Students write about exciting events in the school, interview staff, asking things about them, things that they like or dislike, and interesting facts. There is a word hunt where students can win 40 PBIS points. The next issue is coming out before Thanksgiving break. Community service. Students have been working on garden beautification projects at Thomas Paine and Kingston Elementary Schools. They worked very hard pulling weeds and stumps out of the garden. Students also planted mums. To celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, guest chef Claudia taught 8 student volunteers to make a traditional Puerto Rican meal. The menu of the day was empanadillas de pollo y carne, which are chicken beef turnovers, pernil, slow-cooked roasted pork, arroz con dulces, rice with pigeon beans, tostones, which are fried splashed plantains, ensalada, green salad, and flan de vanilla custard. Students served 50 plus plates for AHS staff, students, and Lewis administration. Everyone who participated had a fun morning and enjoyed a delicious lunch. The Wake Up Cafe, rough raffle. The Alternative High School started raffling an event dog treat calendar during the end of October. This will continue through the month of November, and the drawing will be held on Tuesday, November 22nd. Cape May Zoo trip. On October 21st, a group of 11 students went to Cape May Zoo. Though the bus trip was not much fun and was quite boring when we got there, it was all worth it. There were a slew of animals, old and new. After all of the sightseeing, we sat and had lunch. After all of the sightseeing and after the lunches, we did a group photo and went back on the buses and went home. 12th grade English class students learned about the 3 levels of horror and read several horror stories. Then in about 5 weeks, students created an original story, acted, filmed, and produced it into a movie. The Offspring is a slasher horror movie about revenge. The monster mask was handmade using parts of Mrs. Piggy and Kermit the Frog. Students created the set design, brought in props, and collaborated with the photography class to create the new movie poster. On Halloween, our entire school gathered to watch the film screening. Science class ecosystem. Students designed and budgeted to make an ecosystem in science class. They went to Petco to get a tank, plants, shrimp, and snails for the ecosystem. They learned how to ride the bus properly and learned about plants and animals. Halloween. AHS students and staff dressed in costumes. Kingston Elementary students visited our school to trick or treat. Some things we are looking forward to in the future are Pete's Pantry donation collection. Look for our collection boxes in Lewis Administration Building. Rough raffle winner to be announced. Community service.
Wonderful. Great. 3 great reports. And let us know when those boxes are in and what we can bring. Yep. Come here anyway, Support. All right. All right. Now what you've all really been waiting for. First public comment. So, as I say, and this is only for, okay, hold on. I don't have my normal. If you're a student, yeah, you can say anything. You have to identify yourself as a student, and I'm going to try to call on you first. If you're not a student in our district, then we're going to ask you to confine this public comment to agenda items 13 to 16 only. And we're going to have a timer and we'll do all that stuff. Cherry Hill is a community that values education, and educational topics often bring out a passionate response. The Cherry Hill Board of Education supports a school climate in which our diversity is a source of strength and all are included. Respect is foundational in how we treat you, how we treat each other, and how we support our administration staff in their essential work. Please join us in practicing the utmost respect for all. And by tradition, we start in the room, especially if there's a student. Well, in the room anyway. For public comment 1. Yes, please. Okay, floor is yours. Just you start with your name, municipality, and agenda item that you're speaking.
My name is Rich Beckman. I'm not a resident of Cherry Hill. I live in Mantua, New Jersey, but I teach at Bret Harte and Sharp Schools. First of all, I got to tell you, it's a little imposing to be up here. I've been teaching for 28 years now, 20 of them in Cherry Hill. And, you put me in a room full of 90 kids with instruments, I have no problem. But, being in front of all you guys, it's it's a much different, much different for me. I'm here to speak to you today about your policy on allowing instruments on buses. If you're not familiar with it.
Is Mr. Beckman, is this on the agenda tonight for a vote?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You just have to wait till public comment number 2.
Oh, okay. Very sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. For anything goes on that one. This one is the stuff we're voting on tonight.
I understand. Thank you.
Sure. All right, we do have one hand raised. I believe it is Dr. Podowitz on the line, and once we reset the clock, it will be your floor.
My name is Jeff Podowitz, and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Item 16.3, 5511, new dress and grooming code concerning hats and headwear specifically. Please revert to the previous policy. I stated this before. New policy, hats and headwear must allow the face to be visible and not interfere with a line of sight to any student or staff. How and when is another student going to complain about this line of sight? Immediately complain during class? That student risks being accused of disrupting the class or being labeled a troublemaker by other students, or worse than being labeled. Should they take a picture to prove their line of sight is being interfered with? Bottom line, depending upon the student, they will suffer in silence. The administration and school board appears not to consider these students. Further, the new proposed policy states hoodies must allow the student's face and ears to be visible to the staff. Does the staff members need to take a picture to prove that the hoodie is not allowing the student's face and ears to be visible? By asking staff to basically enforce this, the school board and administration are putting teaching staff at risk. Let me give you an example of this. It is documented in the complaint by Ms. Tamir Herman for South Orange Maplewood School District Board of Education. It's now in Federal District Court of New Jersey. Nature of the action. Plaintiff brings this action in response to defendant's role in a malicious campaign to malign plaintiff and the wrongdoing by spurning of plaintiff's right to due process before placing plaintiff on unjustified administrative leave. Please do not modify the previous policy. That's a serious thing that happened up in North Jersey. If none of you know about it, you should look it up. That's serious, and things like that can happen. Maybe not to this extent. So please modify this policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Back to the room. Okay, and no hands are raised online. We will move into superintendent comments next. Dr. Malaj.
Thank you, Mr. Ovadia. And thank you to the students for their updates. This evening, the presentation, recorded one from the alternative high school for Aiden and Liz for what they shared about what's going on at High School East and High School West. It's very busy times in all of our schools as we transition here get ready for the Thanksgiving weekend. We do have an early dismissal tomorrow. I know that announcements, information has been going out over the last few weeks from the school principals and from the schools. It's been on our calendars. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving break is the one day that is always an early dismissal in the Cherry Hill School District for all three levels. The tradition continues tomorrow. So hope that everybody gets an opportunity to spend some time with family and with friends during the course of the 4 days, just to remove themselves, kind of separate from the busyness of the days and just get a chance to relax. I've been out and about in a lot of the schools over the last few weeks. I've started not just my town hall meetings with the students that Aiden talked about, and I've been to our high schools and to the middle schools, but I've also restarted my town hall meetings with the instructional and support staff at the schools. So I've been to elementary and middle schools thus far, and we'll continue those meetings through the month of December. And it's kind of fascinating just to have the opportunity to sit down. As an example, I was at Woodcrest this afternoon, and we started at about 3:45 and we finished up at about 5 minutes to 5 with staff members to make comments. It's a great way for me to hear very authentically from staff members about what's going on. So often by the time information comes to us at a board meeting or to me in my office, it's filtered through a number of different levels and through a number of different folks. So it's always beneficial to hear directly from people about their experiences, what's going well, what challenges they're experiencing, and what they think we as a district should be looking at and moving forward with. So that's been very beneficial. Very successful sports season at our middle schools and at our high schools. I hope they had an opportunity to get out and to see the students compete. Some very high level of success, some new levels of success at both of the high schools, and some real positives. One of the things I do want to highlight, and we'll be recognizing many of our students from activities, clubs and organizations for recognition and fall sports at the December 20th board meeting. In fact, on December 20th, we'll convene in the all-purpose room because we will invite a lot of people that evening to be here for the recognition. But one of the things I do want to highlight, because I think it has become representative of some of the things that go on in the district. Kristen Bradford, who is the girls tennis coach over at High School West, was named Coach of the Year for the conference. And she was nominated by the tennis coach from High School East, Mary Jewett, who nominated her because of the work that she's done in the program at High School West. So while the schools are competitive, the children know each other, the adults know each other, and they really do support one another in terms of what goes on. I know as winter sports are beginning, the East boys basketball team, because of events going on at East this week, they started their practices at West, in the beginning of the week. So just again, those things that go on behind the scene that many folks don't recognize or realize or talk about. Looking forward to some upcoming activities that will continue to put our students together. We are getting into the winter concert season. So the secondary schools have winter concerts that are public. The elementary schools do winter concerts that are done within the school and environment. So we ask that folks, even if you don't have children in the middle schools or the high schools, to go out and to see the winter concerts. They're unbelievable, the level that these children perform to and what our staff members are able to get out of them. So look on the website and you can see what's going on. The students mentioned the shows going on, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at West, and Aiden, tell me again. Canterville Ghost at High School East. Thank you, Mr. Ovadia, at High School East. So you can go to a show every weekend for the first 2 weekends or first 3 weekends in December. So we encourage you to go out and to do that. thank you to everyone that's taken the opportunity to help to support families that are in need in the Cherry Hill community. We hope that you will continue to do that throughout the course of the winter. It does become more challenging, whether it's a school-wide event that's going on to bring in funds or food, or whether it's something else in the community that you see. Please continue to make those donations. There will be an event on Sunday, December the 4th, I believe, at Croft Farm. That's being sponsored by the Human Relations Council of Cherry Hill. It's an event called Illuminations. It'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. The entire community is invited. We do participate as the school district. I sit as a member of the Human Relations Council. So just something should be a wonderful family event. All are welcome and all are encouraged to attend. I know that we have a number of students who will be performing that evening on the stage at Croft Farm. So again, hope everybody enjoys the long 4-day weekend. Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Avadia. Mr. Avadia reminded me, as the referendum passed earlier in October, we're coming up on December the 8th, that the district will sell $300 million worth of bonds. We will put that out there. We won't actually do it. We have financial advisors and people that do that. So we're incredibly excited. And just a little bit of background, there's been a lot of information that's been out about this already. The referendum passed for a little over $363 million. We will initially be selling $300 million worth of the bonds because we believe that we can spend 85% of that $300 million for sure within the first 5 years, which is a guarantee that we have to provide to the state in selling those bonds. We had to go through a number of different processes in order to prepare to sell the bonds. The board took action at the meeting on the 8th of November to prepare that way for us. We had to go through an application process with Moody's so that we could get a bond rating. We have not had a rating for a number of years because we didn't have any debt. Moody's released that rating today, and we've been rated AA2. Which is the third highest rating that Moody's can provide. It's public. We'll be pushing it out. Mrs. Wilson will provide it on our website. The statement that Moody's put out will be available, so you can take a look at that. Some folks, as I talked about it internally, said, well, why aren't we the top? Why aren't we a AAA rated, entity? And honestly, the biggest reason is because we are limited in the amount of money that we can save or hold in reserve. And that's by statute, right? So we follow the laws. Mrs. Sugars is incredibly talented at what she does as a business administrator. We get audited every year, but we are limited in how much money we are allowed to save as a school district. Because of that, and because Moody's rates us against school districts from across the country, other states have the opportunity where districts can save more money. So that's the chief reason why we are AA2. So again, it's the third highest rating that Moody's would provide. So we are in really good shape for December the 8th. As soon as we have information about what interest rate we get locked into with that sale, we will let everybody know, as we're excited to talk about that as well. So we continue to move forward. Mr. Garrison and the team of professionals on the outside, they continue to prepare and to do work. We are expecting to do about $70 million worth of work in the next year. So during the 2023-2024 academic year, there'll be projects. Again, we've talked about them. I'm not going to go into detail tonight about them, but projects that will take place at all of our schools with some very positive highlights. So we're really excited we continue to progress in this manner. Thank you, Mr. Avadia.
Sure. All right. That's great. That brings us to our action agenda. This is where action happens. For CNI tonight, I'll ask Mrs. Winters to move that agenda, please.
Superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 13.1, approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 2022-23 school year. 13.2, approval of out-of-district student placement for 2022-23 school year. 13.3, approval of out-of-district student placement for regular education for 2022-23 school year. 13.4, resolution for the award of settlement agreements. And 13.5, first reading of policies. It's P2415.50 and P2425. Any questions? There a motion? And a second? A second? Sure, thanks. Now are there any questions? Thank you. Mrs. Sugars, can you open for voting.
Board like, the voting is open, board members. You may cast your votes. If there's any abstentions, please let me know. And we have a unanimous yes vote.
All right, great. Ms. Stern for BNF, please.
Superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 14.1, approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes and executive session minutes dated October 18th, 2022. Financial reports, 14.2, 14.3, resolution approving shared services agreement between Cherry Hill Township and Cherry Hill Board of Education for repair and maintenance of tennis courts at High School East. 14.4, resolution for the award of transportation. 14.5, approval of Cherry Hill McKinney-Vento DCPMP students going out of district for the 2022-2023 school year. 14.6, acceptance of donations. 14.7, action consent to approve businesses and facilities items, 14.1 through 14.6. Are there any questions? Do I have a second? I can't get it right. See, do I have a second? Mrs. Winters, are there any questions? We should note that donation is for musical instruments, so that's a nice donation. Okay, Mrs. Sugars, can you do the voting? Thank you.
Opened up the online voting. You may cast your votes. If there's any abstentions, please let me know. And we have a unanimous yes vote.
Wonderful. Mrs. Elmore Stratton, would you move HR, please?
The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Favorite words, 15.1, termination of employment certificated, 15.2, termination of employment non-certificated, 15.3, appointment certificated, 15.4, appointments non-certificated, 15.5, leaves of absence certificated, 15.6, leaves of absence non-certificated, 15.7, assignment salary change non-certificated, and 15.8, other compensation certificated. Do I have a second? Fleischer, any questions? All right, Mrs. Sugars.
Okay, board members, the online voting is open. You may cast your votes. If there's any abstentions, please let me know. Now it's open, sorry. And we have a unanimous yes vote.
All right, next we're going to move to Mrs. Fleischer for P&L.
The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 16.1, approval of harassment, intimidation, bullying, investigation decisions. 16.2, first reading of policy P5512, harassment, intimidation, or bullying. 16.3, the second readings of policies P2415.04, Title I district-wide parent and family engagement, and P5511, dress and grooming. Do I have a second? Mr. Ravadia? Are there any questions? Mrs. Tong?
I have a question regarding P5511. The new dressing code. I think what I was concerned about is the head and the head wear must allow. The question was actually more of the security part. Like, I guess if I'm a stranger coming in with the heads on, would the camera be able to capture me, my face, as I walk in? I was just curious about that question. That's what I have.
Dr. Malash, do you mind?
I don't, so the dress code doesn't involve strangers coming into the building. It's for students who are in the building. And part of it is that the staff needs to be able to see the face, has to be visible, regardless of what kind of hat or hood that they are wearing.
Does that mean, the student can come in with the hats on or?
So ultimately, yes, that is what it's going to mean. Now, there's going to be work done at each of the levels to have operational definitions about what does that look like and what does that mean, because the students are going to have to be taught and shown. So tomorrow, students will not be showing up wearing hats, or whatever in the buildings. But Dr. Morton will work with the secondary principals. Dr. Mahan will follow up with the elementary principals, but they'll have operational definitions involving discussions with staff members, with students in each of the buildings, and then quantify that by level so they can teach the kids what it looks like.
Well, my follow-up question is, like, first thing in the morning, when we all walk in, how do we know every kid comes in as a student? Is there a way to identify each kid as a student coming in from the, like, maybe parent drop off the student, they come in? I know when I would go to high school, nobody questioned me. But today's society, they changes. So I'd like to know, how to identify the student that coming in is a student.
So student entrances are monitored by our staff members in each of the buildings, at each one of the levels from preschool all the way up through the high school. Staff members speak to the kids. They look at the kids as they come through. There's a recognition that comes in. Every child is not stopped and asked for identification as they come in the building, though. That does not happen.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Stern, did you want to jump in?
Well, just only to say that, hat or no hat, that we're not, having kids walk through like a system like that. I mean, that I don't know that it'll change substantially, hat or no hat. So that's the only thing.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars, would you please open the voting?
Okay, board members, the online voting is open. You may cast your votes. If there's any abstentions, please let me know. You can just vote yes. I'll do it. I took care of it. Other than Mrs. Tong's vote no on 16.3, we have a unanimous yes vote.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple things of note as we take this action tonight. A couple things to reiterate. One, this is an example of something we talked about. Dr. Rude mentioned it tonight, but it's about seeing what others have done. We have common problems. This is a national issue in terms of dress and grooming and discipline and how this rolls out. And this is something I think we got all the way from Portland, Oregon. Okay, not Portland, Maine. There's a great song. Look it up. So we went all the way to Portland, Oregon. I will say that there's a lot of discussion that I hear in the community about this, a lot of interest in this. A lot of people ask the question, well, when does it go through? And I think that's what's just happened at the board table. But the caution is, for this to get, as Dr. Malash mentioned a couple minutes ago, for this to get on the ground in the schools, there is a translation process. There is a time process. So Aiden had asked about that a meeting or 2 or 3 ago. That will take some time, but the board has now taken the action that we take, and that has now been taken at this meeting. So congratulations and thank you, Mrs. Fleischer, for leading us through it. Strategic planning, unless there's anyone who wants to jump in with something new, we have nothing to move tonight, which brings us then to any new business. Any new business anyone would like to? Mrs. Elmore Stratton.
This is sort of new / old business, but because of my committee report, I just wanted to share that there is a posting about the job fair. I want to say that at every meeting. It's December 15th from 4 to 7 at Cherry Hill West. So if us as board members could continue to spread the word and make sure that we get a lot of folks out to fill the many, many jobs that we have open. So that was all I had.
Wonderful. And I've seen it around social media, must be on our media,
It is.
Okay.
Pushed out this week.
Wonderful. All right. So everyone share, like, repeat, podcast, TikTok if you must. But yeah, we definitely need, again, the next, I don't know. Well, I don't want to, I don't predict far into the future, but the next 75 years for sure, we're going to need a lot of human resource, and it will be a differentiator for us as a district, as a country, as a globe. Yes, Dr. Rude.
I just want to ask if we're going to be at, telling people, go to the job fair, what's the biggest need? Like what kind of postings will there be?
All of them. No, I
All of
think
them.
right now there's a large need for, I hope I'm saying this correctly, our paraprofessionals, I believe. So those positions like the cafeteria, recess, all of those are still in need. SAC is always in need. And we have several teachers that are going to be moving on to enjoying the rest of their lives, not teaching very soon. And so there'll be several teaching spots open. So I say come one, come all at this point. And then I would say there's a highlight on special education. Foreign language, I believe, is always a big one. So
Yes.
ESL, all of them, that we are in need. Our community has grown, and so we need more hands to make light work. So, and then reminding that there's also opportunities to apply with, is it ESS, Nance? ESS, and also with Aramark as well, because they could use some hands, and those are vendors that work with us throughout the day. Oh, yes, absolutely. The transportation companies, big deal. If you have a school bus and you want to get licensed and registered, now's the time to start a school bus driving company, because it is in need. So if you have your CDLs, I think you might want to show up as well on December 15th. I think he can ride the bus now.
All right. Any other new business? All right, old business. Anything to revisit? Okay. That brings us to second public. No, wait, yes, second public comment. Any topic, 3 minutes. Please start with your name and municipality. And in theory, we would let students go first, but I don't know. Okay, by tradition, we start in the room. We do have a couple hands raised online. Yes, sir, floor is yours.
How are you? How's everybody doing tonight? Danny Elmore, 25 Birchwood Park Drive South, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And actually, the question goes to Caitlin Mallory, who gave a report on the special education section. I know that there are, maybe it's not a question, but a request that when you're considering the students that are transitioning, taking transitioning programs in colleges and universities, that you consider that there might be groups that have funding, or consider helping out those students. If you can get in touch with us and we can work that out. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. We'll look to Dr. Malash to give us some directional advice on how to do that when we come to that. Okay, so I'm going to now go to the line, and we have Susan D. The floor is yours. Just need your full name first and the municipality. I think you're still on mute, Susan D. Still on mute. Okay. We'll try to come back to you, Susan D. Meantime, we're going to go to Amanda Limasi.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So hi, my name is Amanda Lee Massey. I'm at 23 Woodbury Drive, Cherry Hill. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Zone PTA. I am the Zone PTA treasurer. And each year, the Cherry Hill Zone PTA asks each PTA, their school community, and the Cherry Hill community at large to help support Cherry Hill public school families in need. We ask for gift cards in denominations of $10 from ShopRite, Target, or Walmart. We also accept cash donations to buy gift cards from these establishments. Zone PTA has the gift cards delivered directly to the families before winter break. So we're asking that if you can, that you please help Zone PTA assist students and their families who are in need of our support so that they can have a more enjoyable holiday season. Students, families, and the community members can drop off cards or cash donations to any of our schools no later than Wednesday, November 30th. And if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me, Amanda Limassi, by email would be the best way. My email is amanda.zonepta@gmail.com. And I just want to thank everybody for their generosity in helping our Cherry Hill friends, classmates, and neighbors this winter season. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lee Massey. We appreciate your efforts on that front and for the information. Okay, we're back to the room. All right. Yep, your turn.
Thank you. Very sorry about the faux pas before. My name is Rich Beckman. I'm a resident of Manchester, New Jersey, and I'm a teacher here at Sharp and Bret Harte Schools. Here tonight to ask you to reconsider your policy on certain instruments not being allowed on school buses. First of all, I want to ask why it's an issue now. And I know the way the format of this meeting works, you can't give me an answer, right now, but it hasn't been a problem the 20 years that I've been here, that cellos, trombones, and percussion instruments are not allowed on buses. I had a phone call with the transportation director back in September because one of my students, a parent, had called them. He was denied access to the bus, and you can imagine that the parent was very upset. The transportation director, told me that they would be working on something to fix the issue. And when I asked her why it was still a problem, why it was a problem all of a sudden, she told me it was actually a policy that Cherry Hill has had for years since she was a student at Kilmer back in the 80s. And I can tell you that I'm a proud graduate of Johnson, Beck, and East. And I, as you can imagine, I took advantage of every musical ensemble that I possibly could, played just about every instrument you could possibly imagine. And I never had a problem bringing any instrument on a bus. If it was an incident on a bus that maybe is causing this issue, I would just like to ask you guys to consider maybe, educating the bus drivers on how to properly stow an instrument so these kids can actually play the instrument that they like to play. Second question I have is I wanted to ask if it's being imposed on anybody else or just the elementary students in the instrumental program. The bus policy clearly states that it's not just musical instruments, but also sporting equipment on buses. And I was listening to Aiden talk about the football team and the tennis team, and I can't remember the other teams, but I want to know if the sporting at the high school is going to have the same problem. In other words, will the baseball team be able to bring their equipment when they have their away games? Lastly, one of the ideas being floated around is that we will be receiving some instruments in the schools for kids that cannot bring their instruments on those buses. But I just like to say that I don't know if that's a feasible solution. For example, if we get one trombone, it's not something we can share with other kids, even if they bring their mouthpiece. Their own mouthpiece, it's not very hygienic to be blowing into that instrument. Cellos are another problem because they come in different sizes, just like your shoes. So depending on the size of the student, they could be playing a half-size cello, 3/4-size cello. So if the school district were to purchase 3/4-size cellos, but my student is a half-size cello player, it would do no good. It really needs to be the proper size cello. Last but not least, instruments need to be tuned quite a bit. So I can tell you most of my day is spent tuning instruments. And if they're left home because they can't come to school, I really can't help students while they're at home. But thank you. I'd just like to say one more time, I hope you consider changing the ban on having certain instruments on the buses. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to go to the line. I wish I had every number memorized, but this one is 856. Well, let's put it this way. It ends at 91. If your number ends in 91, this is probably you, and the floor is yours. You just need to unmute, though. For a phone number, is it star *6 should work to unmute you. 91. Okay, while we grapple with that, we'll move to Ann Einhorn.
Ann Einhorn, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I wasn't on earlier. Would just like to thank the Cherry Hill Educational Foundation for their generous donation of instruments to children who may not have access to instruments. As the mom of an instrumental music teacher, it's near and dear to my heart. And every instrument that we can get into children's hands is a great thing as far as I am concerned. On another note, I wish you all a happy and fulfilling Thanksgiving and a safe one. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to the room. Yes, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Christine McCauley. I teach at Claire Barton and Richard Stockton. I've been in the district for 19 years, and I'm more comfortable with an instrument in my hand than talking to this group. But I came here because Rich Beckman is a great friend of mine, and he asked to be here and have some support. It's the bus situation. It's very, very upsetting, and I'm kind of just here to represent our 9 and 10-year-olds that don't have a voice. I have a student that's played cello, and I had to tell him, I brought the cello to him. I said, I got you a cello. I have a school instrument for you. And then he said, oh, I'm on bus 1. And I was like, oh, bus 1 is the bus that's not allowing kids to bring their instruments on the bus. So I had to turn around and not let that child take that instrument home. So these kids are coming, and they're supposed to perform in less than a month for their classmates and their teachers. Yet they can't actually practice the instruments. So I also have another student at Barton who the mom has had I've had all 4 sons, and every one of them has played percussion, but he's a busser and he can't bring the instrument back and forth. And the mom's like, how does this make any sense? I've never had a problem before. So anyway, I just also wanted to say thank you to Farah, because she has been trying to help with this scenario. It would be so wonderful to have a music supervisor again, which we did have when I first started here. Again, Farah's really helped with it, but there's a disconnect, just like we were talking about with special ed, where the elementary, the middle school, and the high school aren't really connected in our music programs. And those larger instruments, it's really hard to get kids to want to play those instruments. And then there's going to be a huge trickle down effect that our high school will not have trombone players and they will not have cellists in their groups anymore. So it is important. And thank you for listening. And thank you very much.
Thank you. We're gonna go to the line with Carolina Bevitt. You are next.
Hi, Carolina Bevid, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I wanted to make a comment about the job fair. So I saw this posted on Instagram today, but it was labeled as a diversity job fair. And then at the bottom of the post, it said all are welcome. So it was just a little confusing to me. I don't know what the difference is between a diversity job fair and a regular job fair, but Mrs. Elmore Stratton's comments made it seem like we need all the help we can get in our schools. So I'm not sure who the job fair is targeting and if that's clear and if it should be specified or if it's just understood that all are welcome at a job fair in our district. The second comment I wanted to make is that I brought this up before. I'm still concerned about our elementary technology usage. Once again, my 3rd grade son, he's starting a new piece of writing and he's starting it on a computer. He's doing the drafting, revision, and editing process on the computer, which really inhibits his ability to produce writing because he's not a proficient typer. He's not a proficient speller. Of course, I don't think many 3rd graders are. So I feel like some students who are using the computer so much are being cheated out of the opportunities that handwriting really provides for children as learning opportunities. So I'd really love to see our board discuss this and move forward on a policy to help guide teachers on, when it's appropriate to use, when, our district agrees that it's appropriate to use computers in the elementary classroom, especially for writing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll return in the room, hopefully. Yes, all right, go for it.
Hi. Hello. My name's Andrew Patel. I live in Blackwood, New Jersey, but I teach here in Cherry Hill. Third time's a charm. I'm also an instrumental music teacher. And I just wanted to discuss the bus policy. I wanted to thank Farah as well for her work with Teresa Britton and trying to come up with a solution for this sort of issue. However, the ban was very immediate, and a tangible solution has been in the works for a couple months now. And like has been mentioned before already, there are students that have not been able to bring their instrument to the school for the past 2 months and are just, barely hanging on. Luckily, I have not personally had any students quit, but there is, talk of it. And I also do worry that moving forward, word of mouth would get around that, maybe you don't want to play trombone because there have been issues in the past with getting an instrument to the school. And that's a really discouraging thing, especially how difficult it is to get these, sort of what we call extinct instruments into the fold as is. So I just do want to bring that to your attention, that it is a very important part of our job, and it's something that we care about a lot. And we are, still trying to work towards, well, what do we tell our parents? Because so far, all I've been able to really say is we're working on it. We're working on it. And it's, something that I'd like to come to them and say, we have the solution now. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. 91, we're going to try again. I think *6 will work. I'm hopeful this is the time it will choose to work. Yes. Yeah. 91. All right. Name and municipality. Go for it.
No, it's me. My name is Jeff Podowitz, and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm sorry. I'm listening. Anyway, public comment too. When it comes to this direct state aid to education, our community has been cheated since 1990, 1991. We actually received $20.5 million in direct state aid approximately 32 years ago, approximately $9 million less than the $29 million we received in 2022, 2023. I have discussed this numerous times at school board meetings. Example, first year of SFRA, 2008, 2009, the actual direct state aid to education we received was approximately $16.5 million. Instead of the required state aid of approximately $29 million, we were supposed to be received by SFRA formula calculations. However, at-risk students in our community were being cheated even more than that because of wealth equalization calculations. All right, as stated by Ms. Lynn Strickland in an article on New Jersey Spotlight dated April 3rd, 2017, in the SFRA state fund, that's the state funding formula, the money has never followed the individual child eligible for special education services, nor did the designers intend it so. This is wrong, a wrong that cries for correction. I agreed with her and commented about my community, Cherry Hill. Please go to the Education Law Center on New Jersey website, SFRA district profile. Education Law Center has grants for every district in the state of New Jersey, all right, including Cherry Hill. For one of those years, our required aid was $44 million. However, our school district, we only received 12.7. Our school district's leaderships feel the definition of being fully funded is $29 million and has always been throughout SFRA. We in Cherry Hill should be thankful. Our school district leaders blame the state. Other school district leaders blame the state in print when they feel they have been cheated. Example, Chesterfield and an article in the Newark Star Ledger. Our leaderships appear to pledge their fealty to the state. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm wondering, well, okay, let's go to the room next. All right, teachers, thank you for coming out tonight. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna miss, yeah, please check out live stream. Yeah, so at the end, so we don't, this part isn't so interactive, but at the end, we kind of cobble together everything that's been said. And Dr. Malash gives us a sense of next steps and just some, you know, color to an issue, next steps, that kind of stuff. I don't know if he'll say something, but it's certainly worth checking out on live stream. But I understand, you know, we all got to teach tomorrow. I got to teach my kids to be cool. But anyway, but I know professionals are going to be teaching better things than that. So anyway, but live stream, totally get it. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Dr. Yaris, you are take us home, it looks like.
Yoni Yaris, Cherry Hill. I want to give a shout out to Miss Wilson for the amazing post yesterday about Transgender Remembrance Day. It's huge for the district to go out and doing these meetings, but to put it out publicly across all social media is a giant step in the public face. And it only happens because this board table supports it, the administration supports it, and the community like me and others do support it, and it matters, especially after what took place in Colorado. It matters even more for our community and for our, especially for the marginalized population. We know that they are seen, they're heard, and that we're there for them. And I greatly appreciate that from the district. I am personally very excited for the diversity job fair. It's a newer term for people, that it's really important. And it's a great way for us to be able to message out to people looking for positions of education that we value diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are our core bases of our district, and it's a really easy way to brand it. And that's what it means. And it's really exciting to see it. I know it's been in the talks for many, many years, and to get it going right now, especially when we need teachers, we need people in the buildings. There are many, many openings, and just see us being a leader in the field is, again, a major thank you to the board, the administration, to Nancy Adrian and her team, and to Ms. Elmore Stratton for pushing it through with the HR committee. It really takes a community and such. Onto the bus policy that affected my son last year. Mr. Prelate did a great job helping my son. Unfortunately, he decided not to stay with cello and switch to saxophone, which is slightly easier to get in the bus, but it is a major issue. And as a family, that my brother went into music because of the school district on upright bass. And that fortunately, the district does have a selection of those. Music matters. We create an amazing core cadre of music teachers out of this district every single year. And we don't need to see an empty stage at East or West, missing half an orchestra or half a band of the major instruments. So if we can work on that and keep going. I didn't realize we lost a music supervisor. I think that when we're looking at budget season, for the budget and finance committee to look at that, and HR as well, for us to have a music and arts, or even looking at merging music and arts together, we value it as a district. I think as we talk about bringing people together and getting less boxy and less siloed, positions like that really matter, so that we can have a concrete plan from K through 12 across the board. And I think that covered it. And then happy Thanksgiving. And I am grateful that we have all of you in this room for supporting our children on a daily basis. Even when we disagree, we are not disagreeable, and we always seem to work together. And thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we got. All right, well, we will turn it over to Dr. Malash, as I foreshadowed, but 5.5 minutes ago. We turned to Dr. Malash to give us some color and continue the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Avadia. And I do want to thank everybody who came out to speak tonight. Mr. Elmore, thank you for your suggestion, your offer of support. I will match you up in an email with Ms. Mallory so that you two have that contact, but I appreciate you speaking out and offering that. Thank you, Ms. Massey, the Zone PTA treasurer, for speaking. This is such a, again, it's one of the things that involves all 19 of the schools. We really appreciate, folks making the donations and the work that the Zone PTA does and will continue to do throughout the course of the winter. One of the things that the alternative high school students talked about, they are doing a food drive. There are boxes that are available in the hallway now. So even the next couple of meetings when, you're here, board members for committee meetings, Certainly, you are invited to bring non-perishable items and put in those boxes, and we will make sure that the students get them. It definitely is a highlight for us being in the building that they include our side of the building in their activities. I'm grateful to Dr. Beckman and to Ms. McCauley and to Mr. Patel for coming out. The discussion about instruments on school buses, they're right, is not a new discussion. There's been discussions through transportation. The discussion had certainly wilted a little bit during the last couple of years with the pandemic, just in the reality that was going on. The big issue really comes down to safety, right? And safety on school buses. And can children maintain the instrument, control of the instrument while they are on the bus? If they can't maintain control of the instrument while they are on the bus, or a bag or equipment or whatever else, there's no place to safely stack, place, stow, put something. We had, in fact, it was a unfortunate reminder earlier in the year when we had a student who was injured because there was an instrument that was stacked up in a seat. When the bus driver had to hit their brakes, we all know what the traffic looks like around here, an instrument became a projectile on the bus and struck at least one child, Mrs. Sugars, that was on the bus. So an unfortunate reminder about why. So the Ed Foundation, and I'm grateful to Dr. Mahan and to Mrs. King down in transportation, have been working with the Educational Foundation. The board just approved this evening, more than $15,000 donation to purchase cellos for all the elementary schools, to purchase trombones for all the elementary schools, to purchase additional percussion equipment for the elementary schools, to try to provide that as an opportunity. We'll continue to have ongoing discussion with the music teachers about what does it look like when talking about children and they're signing up for instruments. Because part of that is, how will you get that instrument back and forth? That's a real question, right? That's something that exists. And can the child literally control that instrument when they're on the bus? What does that look like? So definitely an ongoing discussion. The music and the arts are a central and important piece to Cherry Hill. It's a central piece of the identity of who we are as a school district. We want more children to participate in instrumental and in vocal music and in fine and performing arts, not fewer children. So we'll continue. I know Dr. Mahan and Dr. Morton, will continue to pledge their support with the music programs, and we'll work with building principals. We'll work with music teachers to do that. It's actually been well over 20 years since we had a supervisor of music or a supervisor of the arts. The unfortunate reality is we can't merge nothing into nothing at the moment to create something. But there was a time when there was a music supervisor for sure. And again, Dr. Morton, and I can feel Dr. Mahan looking at the side of my head. It's an ongoing discussion that I have with the folks that supervise the buildings about what does the curriculum office look like? Who are those supervisors? What does that mean to have additional people? So I am grateful to the music teachers and for representing their peers, coming out and speaking this evening. Ms. Bevitt asked about the job fair that Ms. Elmer Stratton brought up. It is absolutely advertised as a diversity job fair. We absolutely advertise it in that way. And yes, all are welcome to attend. Why do we advertise it as a diversity job fair? Because we want to diversify the staff that works in our schools. We want our staff to be more reflective of the children and the families who are attending our schools and who make up our community. So why do we advertise it specifically like that? We want that to happen. And there are members of marginalized communities that have not always believed that they are welcome to apply in Cherry Hill, or that if they did apply, that they would be accepted and would be hired in Cherry Hill. So we make it a point to be overt and to be direct in what we say and what we do, so that our actions support the words and what we talk about. This work, comes as a collaboration between Miss Adrian and her team down in HR, through the Cultural Proficiency, Equity, and Character Education Committee, through CPEACE, and through a number of staff members in the district. This is not the first diversity job fair that Cherry Hill has hosted. It's the first one in a number of years, Miss Adrian, probably 5-6 years or so at least, since the last one that we did. We have staff members that are very interested and very excited about doing this, right? And again, yes, diversity job fair, because we specifically want to make sure that people know that they are encouraged, invited, and welcomed, and we are looking to diversify our workforce in Cherry Hill. So that's why we call it a diversity job fair. State funding, Dr. Potowitz, always appreciate you calling and always appreciate the follow-up. Yes, the state has cut us out of a lot of money through a lot of years, us and a number of other school districts. We have definitely taken an approach that we have been direct in our meetings with state legislators, with the Commissioner of Education, with multiple commissioners of education at this point, and with the department about the funding and what it means and what that impact is. I wouldn't rely, Dr. Podowitz, just on negative rhetoric that other administrators or board members may have used in the press to define the work that's been done in Cherry Hill around funding and fair funding in terms of what has taken place. And I think that's all, Mr. Avadia.
All right. Well, let me say for all those that wished us a happy Thanksgiving on behalf of the Cherry Hill Board of Education, we wish you and your families a wonderful, happy, interesting, get along, and potentially watch a movie, time with your family in potentially close quarters. So have a wonderful one. We will see you back here after the holiday for committee meetings Tuesday. 4:30 to I think 8:30, be here or be square. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Mayor, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Take care. Good night.
Night.